Hello, hello. All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Steve Lee, Extension Weed Scientist. This morning, I'm going to talk about weed control in peanut briefly and show you some of the updates we have from our trials in 2016. So I'm mainly going to cover chromoxone and valor evaluation in Alabama. And also, we'll be talking about some of the auxin herbicide drift on peanut and some other information. So we have been working on two weed control program or systems in the last 2 years. One is chromoxone based, one's valor based. For both programs, you need to start the season with a little bit of residual herbicides. They're always very helpful in any of the weed control system. So the three main options are Pro H2O, strong options, a strong arm, and a Valor. So you start the season with some of the pre-planned or pre-emergence residual. And then in the chromoxone system, the post-1 treatment, which is the most important one, includes chromoxone with storm, chromoxone with basogram, and something else. I have a blank there to fill. So post-1 treatment needs to be sprayed between 20 to 30 days after planting. If this application is timely, it should be able to burn off most of the small weeds in the field. For valor-based system, chromoxone treatment is optional because you have put down lots of residue herbicide at the start, so the field may still look relatively clean at about 20 to 30 days after planting. Later, for the second post-emergent treatment, Cadre or Cobra or Storm with 2,4-DB with another tank mix. If you don't fill in the blanks, you think everything looks good in this situation, you may have some late season weed control issue. So to fill in the blanks, we do need to use more residual herbicide, such as Warrant, Dew Magnum, Outlook, Zedra, and Anthem Flax, things like that. And the problem in the system needs to be addressed are chromoxone, valor, and the cadre carryover. So if we look at a chromoxone injury on peanuts, there are some variances out there based on our observation. This is 2015 Fairhope peanut plots. Several days after chromoxone application, the weed control efficacy was pretty good. We can see in the picture in the left. There's a large morning glory patch was completely burned off. It's gone. But the peanut also took a pretty hard hit. However, same treatment applied in Helen, different environmental conditions. We only see a few leaf speckles, and leaf burn was very acceptable compared to the Fairhope peanut. So last year we did more trials in peanut and look at the results. Chromoxone we got 12 and 24 ounce by itself, and then we mix chromoxone with Storm with Dew Magnum, with Warrant, with Anthem Flax, and with Zedra. So we got four three-way mixes, and compared to the non-treated check. Pre-emergence behind the planter, we sprayed 3 ounces of Valor with Prowl. Post-emergence, we sprayed Cadre and DB. So every treatment was sprayed by backpack sprayer. We had 3 locations, 4 row plots, repeated 4 reps at each location. treatment was applied 20 to 30 days after planting, and we had four common peanut variety in this trial. In every location, every peanut trial was planted in dryland in mid to late May. So I'm only showing the yield response here. So if we look at the Georgia 06G yield, the non-treated check yield are the three bars on the far right. And the y-axis shows the percentage of non-treated check. I drew a line at 100% yield goal, which is the yield of non-treated check at each location. So statistically, there is no difference regarding the yield of Georgia 06G across any of the treatment. And then for Georgia 14N, you can see all the bars are getting even closer to the line, and there was no statistical difference between any of the treatments. Top 511, yield potential looks good, and no statistical difference. Georgia 12Y, again, no statistical difference as well. So that may be a good news for the growers. This means most of the treatment did not, or there's no treatment significantly reduced the yield. So if we look at some pictures, 12-ounce Gramoxone 24 ounce per acre at E.V. Smith, these are close to 2 months after planting. Peanut tolerance looks pretty good. Gramoxone with Storm with Dew Magnum, Gramoxone Storm Warrant, Gramoxone Storm Zedra, Gramoxone Storm with Anthem Flags compared to the non-treated check. So weed control efficacy and the peanut tolerance looks pretty decent. So I started to feel some of the pain that Dr. Eric Prosko in Georgia has talked about in the past. He has been testing Gramoxone Storm and Dew Magnum treatment for years, and most of the data was not significant. So he built a regression, and based on his data from the last so many years, based on his conclusion, if you are shooting for a crazy high yield, say around 7,000 pounds per acre, and then the Gramoxone Storm and Dew Magnum injury may reduce the yield significantly. So we're talking about 6% yield loss. But if your yield goal is about 6,000 pounds per acre, and then you only lose about 3% of your yield. If your yield goes to 5,000 pounds per acre, you don't lose any yield at all. So that the injury will not be getting to your way. So I think we have a fairly strong confidence that that if we are shooting around 5,000 pound yield peanut, which is really high for dryland peanut, in most of the cases, this treatment will not get into our way and reduce the yield. For Weiler trials, we spray Valor at 2, 3, and 6 ounces per acre. And they were the treatments were applied at the day of planting, and in a post-emergence treatment, we spray Cadre Storm and DB. Still, we got the same 3 locations. We use 5 varieties, and every trial was planted in dryland in mid to late May. I put all the treatments at all locations in the same slide, so we do have lots of bars in this graph. So out of this so many treatments, we only have 2 significant yield reduction right here, which is Georgia 14N at 3 to 6 ounce per acre rates, and at E.V. Smith station. Again, that tells us that even you go 2 times over the label rate, Valor should not reduce your peanut yield in most of the situations. But this is the first year we've been doing this trial, and I don't want to make me sound very conclusive. We are planning to repeat this Valor and the Gramoxone trial in 2017 at the same locations. So if we see the similar results again at the end of this year, we may have even better confidence to tell our growers that batter and gramoxone injury should not be a concern. So that's our 2015 trials. You can see batter at 2 ounce, 3 ounce, and 4 ounce per acre spray pre-emergence. The peanut stand looks pretty comparable to the non-treated check. And then from last year's trial, batter 2 ounce, 3 ounce, and 6 ounce per acre rate did not reduce the stand compared to the non-treated check. And then at Fairhope, picture was taken in July 13th, so that was about 50 some days after planting. All rates look comparable to the non-treated check. In heaven, we still got 2 ounce, 3 ounce, 6 ounce versus non-treated check. We didn't saw significant stand reduction. Later in the season, the 6 ounce per acre, even the 6 ounce per acre rate looks very good. Fairly comparable to non-treated check. Similar trend in E.V. Smith. And later in the season, foliage or a canopy height width of each treatment was comparable to non-treated check. Alright, we're gonna have all this 2,4-D and dicamba resistant crops available later this year. So what happens if a little bit of 2,4-D and dicamba get drifted on peanut? So picture on the left shows 2,4-D injury, which mainly causes stem twisting, and picture on the right shows dicamba injury, which is mainly leaf rolling. So we sprayed 2,4-D and dicamba at 2 different timings. Timing A was 4 to 5 leaf stage. Timing B was at the onset of blooming. So peanut in this trial either get sprayed early or get sprayed late. And then we did the trial at Fairholme Shoulder in dryland. So this slide here shows peanut canopy height response to low rates of 2,4-D and dicamba. We sprayed 2,4-D from 0.05% of 1 pint per acre up to 15% of 1 pint per acre. So the highest rate was a little bit higher than 2 ounce per acre of 2,4-D or dicamba. And then we convert all the data bars to the percentage of non-treated check. As you can see, canopy height response to low rates of 2,4-D, and which is not statistically different. And then for dicamba, we do found 2 significant yield reduction here, and that's dicamba at 5% and 15% of 1 pint per acre sprayed early in the season at 4 to 5 leaf stage. But as peanut get older, dicamba 5% and 15% did not reduce any of the yield when sprayed at the onset of blooming. That seems to be telling us that dicamba has a better tolerance to peanut has a better tolerance to dicamba when it gets older. So if we look at the peanut yield response to low rates of 2,4-D, again we didn't saw any of the significant yield reduction. Although the bars could be going up and down a little bit for a shorter location. But if you look at the blue bar, which is the Fairhope peanut yield, they're fairly consistent around 100% yield goal right there, 100% yield goal. So statistically, we didn't see any of the differences. But for peanut response to dicamba, we do found 1 significant yield reduction, about 30% yield loss. This is dicamba, 15% spread timing A. Now, I think this data makes sense if we compare this to the South Georgia data. I'll do that comparison just in a minute. So some picture. These peanut was sprayed with 15% dicamba at 4 to 5 leaf stage. Picture was taken 1 month after application. The peanut was 54 days old. you can still see the peanut foliage damage from the dicamba, this funky looking leaves symptoms, still quite hasn't go away yet. However, for same peanut trial, this peanut was planted the same day, so they're in the same age. If we spray dicamba 15% of 1 pipe per acre, same rate, at the onset of blooming, picture was taken 7 days after application. You can already see this peanut started to bloom. Dicamba may have delayed maturity a little bit compared to the previous one that you don't see any of the bloom. And then I don't see any of the peanut foliage injury on this peanut. So that's my point. Peanut seems to be having a better tolerance to dicamba when they get older. So if we look at South Georgia data, 15% of 1 pipe per acre is a little bit over this, a little bit higher than 2 ounces per acre. So if we only look at 2 ounces per acre, if you spray at 30 days after planting, with that rate, 16% yield loss. Spray at 60 days after planting, 20% yield loss. Spray at 90 days after planting over the top, and that's 8% yield loss. Again, South Georgia data confirmed with what we saw in the field. Older peanuts have a better tolerance to dicamba. Zedra and Anthemflex. These are the two new herbicides that we may see in peanut, and we may see in peanut this year. So peroxysulfone, which is a Zedra, and then peroxysulfone mixed with carfentrazone or AIM, that's Anthemflex. Peroxysulfone is not a new product. It has been used in wheat and other crops for some years. It's in the same family of Magnum and Warrant, so they control both grasses and broadleaf weeds. Label may be available in 2017, very close to getting the label at this point. We have done injury evaluation for 2 years in a row. We have both pre and post applications evaluated. The new peanut label will not support pre-application because of the injury potential. So these are our Zedra and Anthemflex evaluation in 2015. The nutrient check had a loss of weed, as you can see. Now this treatment, we spray Proud and Strong Arm on May 20th at the day of planting. Spray some Gramoxone to slow down the sickle pod on June the 3rd, and then we apply Zedra with Cadre with DB on June the 30th. Picture was taken 11 days later, so the plot looks fairly clean. And then in this plot, we spray Zedra, Cadre, and DB, just a higher rate of Zedra. This is a 3 ounce per acre Zedra. The other one was 1.5 ounce per acre Zedra. So at higher rates, peanut tolerance is good. Weed control efficacy was pretty impressive. Consider we do have lots of sickle pod in that field. Anthemflex 3 ounce with Cadre with DB. Plus looks good. Cadre is 6 ounce. This is over the label rate with Anthemflex was at 6 ounce per acre, which is over the label rate with Cadre and DB on the June the 30th. Still, everything looks good. So last year's trial, we did this in Helen in a field with lots of morning glory and sickle pod and grass pressure. We started the season with 32 ounce of Prowl. Early post, we spray Gramoxone Storm and Zedra at 1.5 ounce. Post emergence, we spray Cadre DB and Zedra again. So we start to use the split application of Zedra in peanut. Weed control and herbicide tolerance from peanut plants were all pretty impressive. And then we sprayed Zedra at even higher rates, so we still use a split application, split the Zedra from early and the post emergence, early post and late post. And we use a 3 ounce per acre at both post emergent treatments. Peanut tolerance was very good. Injury was less than 10%, sometimes barely noticeable. If you don't want to use Cadre in late post here, you can use Cobra with DB with Zedra. Spray 2.5 ounce Cobra with DB with Zedra still can get you fairly clean field. Now I had a grower ask me this question because they try to plant peanut in North Alabama in heavier soil, so their carryover problem to cotton is worse than South Alabama. So he wants to know if Cobra can replace Cadre in this situation. The answer is in some cases yes, but for sickle pod, coffee weed, hemp suspension, Florida baggerweed control, Cadre is still hard to replace. There's a reason why Cadre is the Cadre today. But for Cobra, if you mix 2,4-DB with Cobra, that will start to pick up some of the efficacy compared to Cadre on those legume weeds. And also, if you apply 2,4-DB early, say 2,4-DB first, followed by Cobra 2-3 days later, that will also increase the large pigweed control as compared to Cobra with 2,4-DB in combination. So in the areas that Cadre cannot be used because of the carryover concern, I think if you mix Cobra with 2,4-DB or mix Storm with 2,4-DB and also Tech Mix with Zedra or Doom Magnum Award, a residual herbicide, you should still get a fairly decent weed control, but the timing is going to be very critical. If you let sickle pod, coffee weed, morning glory gets too big, over that 5-6 inch where you want them to be, it doesn't matter which treatment you spray, you will have a hard time to kill them. So timing is very important. Always scout the field and make timely applications. So summary, no significant yield differences among the treatments for 2 years in a row. Peanut injury due to anthem flax and Zedra was less than 15% if you spray post over the top. Morning glory control by anthem flax can be an additive benefit because of the aim. It does work very well on morning glory. You can tank mix these two herbicides with chromoxone treatments or with Cadre Cobra plus 2,4-DB. Do a 3-way mix. So this concludes the peanut presentation this morning, and I appreciate your time and your patience. If you have any questions, please give me a call or email, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.